Britain's biggest movie stars, who's featured in around 20 films. Is it 20?
I think so, yeah, about that.
Has won countless awards, is estimated to be worth around £60 million.
I don't know. That's for you to say, not me.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if that's right. I don't check it.
All right, okay. And he's been around for years and years and years, but he's still only 27. It's Daniel Radcliffe. Daniel has a new film about an undercover FBI agent who infiltrates a neo-Nazi group in America.
Yes, it is, and that's one of my favourite actors I've got to work with recently, Chris Sullivan, who is an incredibly nice guy but exudes sinister on screen in a really great way.
But so do you. I mean, tell our audience about the role.
So basically, I play a character called Nate, who is based on the real-life experiences of an FBI agent called Michael German, who went undercover for various different periods of time for over 12 years, and he goes undercover to infiltrate a white supremacist group and sort of learns about the various forms of white supremacy that exist, and ultimately he's there to sort of stop a terrorist plot. But yeah, it's a great thriller, and it sort of functions as a sort of political conversation as well. But the main purpose it serves is to keep you sort of
on the edge of your seat. Absolutely, and it certainly does that. But it's interesting because we are focused on Islamist terrorism, aren't we? And this is a salutary reminder that, particularly in the States, you know, white supremacist terrorism is still a threat. Yeah,
it's still a threat, and I believe it has been responsible for more deaths in America than any other form of terrorism. It is. You know, it's very much still real. That's one of the things that we've kind of got when we've showed the film to people, is a lot of people going, you know, even today with you know, the things that are very out in the open, people still watch this film and sometimes go, that's not real, like, those guys don't exist anymore, do they? And they do, and I don't think we could have predicted when we made the film how far towards the mainstream some of these very extreme views in the film would have shifted in America, particularly.
Yeah. We've seen a threat to New York, again, just this last weekend, not from white supremacists, as far as we know so far, it's early stages. A city where you spend a lot of time.
Yeah.
How do you think those kind of threats affect the city?
I mean, I think New York has a sort of an image of itself that is similar to the one London has of itself in terms of sort of blitz spirit, and well, I suppose every city probably has that image of itself. But yeah, I mean, I think New Yorkers, you know, part of their identity is being resilient and carrying on, and so I'm sure that will be the case. But what's scarier about it is that obviously every time there is an attack at the moment, it sort of serves to sort of galvanise obviously a lot of fears and hatred that is already being sort of stirred up in America.
By what, the presidential
Donald
campaign?
Trump, but yeah, I mean, but that's the thing. It's silly to say that it's sort of started with him.
Oh no, absolutely.
But not that you were saying that. But yeah, I mean, I feel like that's what makes the world sort of quite sad, and what makes this film sort of sadly relevant right now is just that these fears and hatreds are being tapped into again. Yeah.
You're probably way more of an expert on US politics than any of us, actually, because you spend so much time there. I'm sure you are. But I mean, how do you see this presidential campaign between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton?
Well, it's fascinating and terrifying, and there's part of me that just kind of can't believe that this unbelievably wealthy, privileged man has somehow managed to convince people that he is not part of the elite, and that he is sort of a man of the people. And you know, the sort of argument for a vote against him is a vote against political correctness, and you just think, well, like, I don't know, there's political correctness serves a purpose. There's that Neil Gaiman line where he talks about just replace the phrase political correctness with respecting other people's feelings. And I know there's, you know, it can go too far and people feel policed or whatever, but I do feel like a lot of the people in America they're saying, like, I can say whatever's in my head now. It's like, well, that shouldn't be in your head in the first place. That you feel that way about other people is sad.
Would it make a difference to you if he wins this in terms of where you spend time?
No, probably not, because like I love New York, and I feel like I don't know how much New York will change in response to Trump, because I feel like they've made their mind up on him anyway. I mean, and it's a bubble, like London is here. It's New York is not necessarily representative of the rest of the country. Yeah, I don't know. I definitely don't think it will stop me spending time there. It just frightens me and freaks me out a bit at the moment. That so many people. Because that's the thing, it's not that he exists and is doing well, it's the fact that this means so many people feel this way, which is sad.
He's really tapped into something. I mean, he's hugely popular with lots of people and hugely unpopular with lots of people.
Yes.
Which is why it's really close. I know you've been out of the country, so you're not hugely aware of what's going on politically in this country. It's not dull, let me tell you.
Absolutely, I'm sure.
I think you did endorse Jeremy Corbyn when he became leader a year ago.
Yeah, I didn't endorse anyone. That's the thing.
Okay, sorry, wrong word.
It sounds terribly official, and it's one of those things where, like, as an actor, you get asked, and I do have, political opinions, but then whenever they appear in print, I'm always like, oh no, I don't want people to think that I think my opinion is worth listening to particularly. But I did, I at the time I was very excited. But yeah, I have not been paying nearly as much attention as I feel like I should have, probably especially before coming on this programme.
No, not at all. Would you, if there was an early general election, if there's an election in 2020, would you vote for Labour if Corbyn was the leader?
I mean, if it was a choice between that and Conservative, and then yes, but I mean, I don't know, to be honest. I would hope that I will educate myself a lot more between now and when that becomes a reality.
Fair enough. I'm guessing then that you wouldn't have heard much about the row about anti-Semitic abuse, which some Labour members have experienced. I'm asking because your mum is Jewish, obviously.
Yeah, no, what is that? What? No, I haven't. I really haven't heard particularly about that. What?
Some MPs, some Labour MPs, some young Labour officials at universities argue that there has been this environment created whereby this kind of abuse towards them has been tolerated, and the allegation is since Mr. Corbyn took over as leader.
That is shocking. That's yeah. I mean, that's obviously awful, and I really. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why.
He said a number of times that absolutely it's not permitted, and had an investigation into it, and recommendations have been are being put in place.
I find that so shocking from the Labour Party, especially. I don't know why, especially, and I don't know why I'm especially shocked. I always feel like, I don't know, whenever something like anti-Semitism comes up, I always am just like, I mean, I'm amazed any of it still exists, but that particularly, I'm just like, it's just mind blowing to me.
It's 2016, for goodness sake.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
How do you go about choosing the roles that you do? What is it that you want from them?
I think I'm in an incredibly fortunate position of, like, not, of having been very fortunate, very young, and not having to work for the money, and so I can, at the moment, I'm in a position where I can be really choosy about what I do, and so I feel like for as long as that's the case, I'm going to be, and it's just about originality, and stories I think are worth telling, and things that I think I'll add something to or be good at, and but that's really it. There's no sort of blueprint or plan. I just sort of you just sort of go with what you read.
Appeals to you.
Absolutely.
Is there a bit of your brain that's thinking you want to choose roles that are really counterintuitive, that are as far away from Harry Potter as possible, or not really?
Possibly, but also I'm now having done this film, I want to do stuff that's different from Imperium and different from anything else. I really don't like I don't want to repeat myself too much. And all the actors I really admire are people that have very diverse careers. But I think I sort of get a slightly undeserved amount of credit for picking lots of different things because people saw me play one part for so long. Oh, that's a very old photo. Sorry. But yeah, it's I think probably most actors want to do what I'm doing.
Yeah, definitely. Last week, you will know, because you were asked about it, a well-placed Hollywood source, it was reported, saying that Warner Brothers secretly trying to get the movie rights to the London stage play The Cursed Child, and reportedly wants to get you back in this role, a movie by 2020. You are the only choice to take on this adult role.
Okay. I don't, first of all, I think that well-placed Hollywood source might be made up. Because
It wouldn't surprise
I
me.
definitely don't think that, because I have, like, when I heard that, I sort of made a couple of phone calls and was like, is anyone actually asking about this? Or is this like a thing that people think, people are quite rightly jumping to the conclusion that this will be a thing that eventually is done, I'm sure. But yeah, no one's asked me about it, and I definitely don't think that I would do it at this point, certainly. Just because it's only been 6 years, and I'm really enjoying being able to just do lots of different stuff at the moment. And you know, people who have gone back to franchises and loved them and had success, like all the Star Wars guys, had sort of 30 years in between. So maybe if 30 years had passed, I'd be thinking differently. But right now,
so you're 27 now.
Yeah.
Okay.
57. But they'll be doing remakes. I can play his dad. I can play something. Yeah.
You just said to me while everybody was watching that,
Yeah.
I was not a good kid actor.
No, I don't
Why do you
think.
say
I
that?
hate them. There's some things that are like, there's moments that are okay, but there's moments that I'm like, okay, you're being really still and contained and good. But there's moments I'm just like, oh man, especially when you watch, like, I just watched Stranger Things, the show on Netflix, and you look at those young kids and that, and I was like, how are you so good? It took me 10 years.
Can you see yourself progressing in terms of acting skills through all the Potter films?
I hope so. Yes, I think so. I think so. Definitely. I definitely got a lot better. But yeah, it's still not. I don't think I'll ever. I don't think many actors like enjoy watching themselves. And I particularly think I'll never enjoy watching myself when I was very, very young.
Yeah, fair enough. I've got some nice messages from people who are watching you.
Oh, okay.
Can you bear me to read them to you?
Yeah, no, please do.
Okay, they're really nice. Let's have a look.
Oh, God.
Sorry. Okay. Phil tweets this. Daniel Radcliffe's a legend.
Oh.
He could have
Thank you,
sat
Phil.
on his Harry Potter money, but he's taken acting seriously and kicked on.
Thank you very much. I'm trying. Cheers, Phil.
Lynn. Daniel Radcliffe has grown up very nicely, hasn't he?
Thank you very much, Lynn. Hey,
And Bob.
morning.
Daniel Radcliffe is just brilliant.
Thank you, Bob. You're all so nice. Thank you very much.
You get to vote when it comes to the Oscars in certain categories
Yes,
now.
yeah.
Would you say Hollywood has been racist, is racist?
Yeah, I mean, yes. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think it's pretty undeniable. I mean, that's the thing. We like to think of ourselves as being, you know, a very, very progressive industry, but we sort of have been lagging behind in all kind of areas that have been very well documented. You know, I think there's lots of things about the Oscars that are, you know, there's lots of amazing performances every year that don't get recognised, and it can be for things like they were released in the middle of the year, and it's just, and there's such a, I don't know a huge amount about it, but I understand that there is a real like campaign structure that you have to go through if you're going to get one of those things. So I feel like there's a lot that is yeah, kind of unseen about the process, I guess.
Do you feel by being able to vote you can make a difference?
Yeah, it can make a tiny difference.
Yeah,
absolutely.
one member, one member, one
absolutely.
vote.
But I do think now that these conversations have come up, it's gonna, it's, you know, things are gonna start changing. I think you can even see it, like, I'm starting to see it in scripts I read, particularly for female characters, because you're just seeing people trying to like actually make more of an effort.
Yeah.
There's an amazing, if you want like a comically grim view of sexism in Hollywood, there's an amazing Twitter account that I can't actually remember the name of, but he just tweets descriptions of female characters from scripts, and it is, if you like that, you'll see that's what women particularly who are looking for parts are dealing with.
Right, okay, yeah, I'll look that. Why don't you do social media?
For a couple of reasons. I've nothing against it if that's what you want to do, but I feel like one day I might, you know, if I have kids or whatever, like I might want to make an argument about my privacy and say like I don't want you to be able to do that, and I think that'll be harder for me if I have in any way been seen to profit off my public image, and secondly, I would probably get in fights. Like, I would be the kind of person that somebody would tweet something, not one of your lovely people would tweet something at me, and then I remember I did a film which had a very, very mixed reaction at Sundance, and somebody tweeted something really sort of that annoyed me on the first night that it came out, and I was like, I would have been in a fight with that guy, and it would not have been a good look.
Would you?
Yeah, I'm like opinionated and impulsive, and that wouldn't have been. So Twitter is not the place for me.
Okay, fair enough. Are you a feminist?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it amazes me that we sort of have to come out as feminists now, but yes, of course I am.
Do you remember the Sony hack and those
Yes.
emails that showed, for example, Jennifer Lawrence and Amy, I've forgotten to say
Amy Adams,
Amy
yeah.
Adams, yeah. We're on 7% of the profits, whereas
Right.
Bradley Cooper and all the other male co-stars, This Is American Hustle,
Yeah.
we're on 9% of the profits.
I mean, I think that's particularly. I mean, obviously Jennifer Lawrence was the person that wrote that letter and started this whole conversation. But I think in that instance, it's the Amy Adams is like, she's a lead in that movie. Like she's one of the lead actors in that film. Like I mean, it's crazy that it still goes on.
Yeah.
And it's also something that is in like department to department around the industry as well. Is sort of you notice that there are like some departments that are predominantly male, and that is something that's changing. But it's interesting.
Have you ever come across sexism on set when you've been, not necessarily the Potter films, but since, in your work since?
My white male privilege probably means I don't notice, but I'm sure that I have. Yeah, I mean, just in terms of like, and I mentioned how female characters are described in scripts, but also just. I do think that's quite a good example to take, just because there are so many times that you get female characters that are just not, they only exist to give a man something to talk to in a scene, or to push the plot forward in some way. They don't actually have like a story of their own or a character of their own. I mean, so in that way, yeah, and I'm and just in the there are some shots where I think of there are some shots that I've seen where I'm like, would you objectify a man in that way? Probably not. Yeah. So yeah, definitely. But I hope that it's getting better.
You may not have a theory on this. You may. Why do you think so few big Hollywood actors have come out as gay?
I suppose because then people just want to cast you as gay. I mean, I would guess it's
rather than the lead role who's married or whatever.
Yeah, often.
Married to a woman. I mean,
I mean, I think there's very few. Like, I mean, Neil Patrick Harris has kind of made a career out of playing the straightest guy on television, which is fantastic. But
in film,
I mean, I suppose in film, I mean, it is, and it is. Yeah, I mean, it is sad because again we're in this this industry that likes to view itself as being totally progressive and liberal, but there is like a kind of line where people go like, oh no, people won't buy him as straight anymore, which is
they'll be typecast as the gay best friend or whatever.
Yeah.
You're going to play Seb Coe, aren't you? Is that true?
I was going to, but that film fell through a while ago.
No.
Unfortunately, yeah, it was an amazing script about him and Steve Ovett.
Okay, not going to be rekindled.
I don't think so.
No.
I think I'm like getting a bit old for it now as well. Unfortunately,
No,
I know I'm only 27, but like he was when he I've got a.
He was a bit. You mean it was going to be his rivalry with Steve Ovett? Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Really nice to meet you.
Thank you, nice to meet you.
And the film is out at the end of September.
Yes.
Imperium. In fact, this Friday.
This Friday, the 23rd.
Yeah,
yes.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you so much for coming on the
program.
Thank you very
much
really
for having
appreciate
me.
it. Cheers.